What's good? It's Woog. In this video, I am giving you my 50 best albums of 2023. We already went through some honorable mentions, 20 honorable mentions to be specific, and I'm doing a separate video on the best instrumental albums, basically anything that's ambient music, non-vocal jazz, non-vocal acoustic. I like doing that as a separate group. Best albums of 2023. Terrace Martin's 2023 was a career year. Several good projects. I thought that this one, Fine Tune, which I have at 50, was his best. LA's most underrated elite rapper, Blue, teamed up with Real Bad Man on the smooth and smart Bad News at 49. 70s rock legends Jethro Tull have been on a roll 50 years in, as vocalist and flautist or flutist Ian Anderson and company deliver big with the Nordic folklore heavy Roke Float at 48. The Age of Pleasure wasn't Janelle Monáe's best album, since she set such a high standard with her first three, but this is still a vibrant and fun album. I've got The Age of Pleasure at 47. Drake albums are usually critically panned, but I'm including For All the Dogs here at 46, specifically with that 6 Scary Hours 3 deluxe extension, which I prefer over the core album. My homie put me up on this new band, CVC, kind of a 60s psych rock revivalist, with modernized sounds and cool lyrics. They dropped a dope debut album, Get Real, which I have at 45. Which was a 70s psych rock band from Zambia. The genre out there at the time was called Zamrock. They disbanded in the late 70s due to the economy and illness, but reunited in 2012 after their re-releases gained popularity, and they are back in a big way with this new album Zango at 44. At 43, we've got Boygenius, the singer-songwriter supergroup of Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, and Julian Baker, with their collective debut album, The Record. By the way, check out their live cover of Shania Twain's You're Still the One. At 42, it's Anoni and the Johnsons with a societal statement. My back was a bridge for you to cross. Anoni has one of the most unique and soulful voices in music. Just listen to the album opener, It Must Change. Griselda Records co-founder, the prolific Westside Gunn, dropped And Then You Pray For Me, which expands the Griselda's smart, spooky, grimy aesthetic, while still sounding undeniably like a Westside album. This album has some good features, while Westside's presence as MC and curator still shines through. I've got this at 41. I didn't see this one coming. DJ producer Avalon Emerson dropped a cool, breezy, nearly unskippable electronic pop album with sticky melodies. This and the Charm album at 40 is easy on the ears. V's Ganger, or its deluxe version, is 39. I'd say V's might be the breakthrough rapper of the year. Not from a commercial or pop standpoint, but from I would say a critical acclaim standpoint. This album got a lot of critical love, as V's mixes humor and smooth lyrics with that nonchalant, drowsy style that typifies much of today's rap. Nice beat selection too, not too heavy on the features either. Amaray's Fountain Baby is 38, with its pop and Afro beats that almost leans hyperpop, given Amaray's vocal style. This is a very sonically stimulating album. Nice melodies and concepts from the Ghanaian New Yorker. Offset really came through on this sophomore solo album, Set It Off. After the tragic killing of his Migos group member Takeoff, there were a lot of eyes on this project, as many wondered if Offset could stand as a bona fide solo artist. This album answers that. Casa Overall, a Seattle rapper, drummer, and bandleader, drops Animals, which is part jazz, part hip-hop, part background music. This is one that I could play through with no skips. Underrated artist in my view. I've got the very smooth Animals at 36. 35 is Ice Cold Bishop's debut, Generational Curse. This South Central LA rapper actually has a little Kendrick in him, in how he weaves observational narratives and storytelling, even in how he modulates his voice. This is a trauma-based album, but also one with a lot of hope and underlying positivity. Impressive debut. Mintfield's Aprender a Ser snuck onto this list last minute. I'd basically had my list finished. Then this mellow, dreamy noise pop album came out of nowhere and swept me away. I've probably listened to this like 7 times in the past few days. I've got it at 34. Bibio's Sunbursting EP also found its way on here, as I usually exclude EPs from the list, but this one is 25 minutes long, so it's not too much shorter than an album length. But these songs, grooves, and production are just so juicy. How could I leave this out? Jason Isbell and the 400 Units Weather Vanes is at 32, as one of alt country's best singer-songwriters delivers yet again. The former Drive-By Truckers catalog is stacking up nicely. Trevor Powers released his first Youth Lagoon album in 8 years after suffering a debilitating reaction to an over-the-counter medicine. It really sounded awful. Well, this Heaven is a Junkyard album has some infectious earworms or ear candy and songwriting melodies that have been stuck in my head since I heard them. I put it at 31. We're gonna take a brief break and pick it up with the final 30. Picking this back up, best albums of 2023, and we are at number 30. At 30, it's Arm & Hammer, the duo of Billy Woods and Elucid, who are one of the best alternative rap, abstract rap outfits around. They've now got a few projects together, and this dark, funny, and ethereal album, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips, is one of their best. Christine and the Queens, Paranoia, Angels, True Love might be their best album since their 2014 debut. It's a pretty long album, kind of a concept album. Great indie pop style blends, even a couple Madonna features. My sister and her family released a children's album under the name Tiny Prime called Rufus and B. Now, when I listen to music, I'm very cognizant on how it makes me feel. And this album throughout the months has been a consistent and significant mood booster. These are some wonderfully joyous, fun, and thoughtful songs, and I often think about the positive impact that it can have on the kids that listen to it. I've got Tiny Prime's Rufus and B at 28. 27 is Jessie Ware's That Feels Good. Now, this might not be as good as 2020's What's Your Pleasure, but boy, the high points here are as high as any. Jessie Ware is definitely one of the best and most underrated pop, R&B, disco, dance singers around. Doja Cat's Scarlet is 26. I remember her being booked to perform at Ham on Everything events at me and my homies' LA warehouse venues back in the day, and it's just crazy to see her flourish like this. Now, her non-music related antics have drawn a lot of criticism and made her a polarizing figure, but her musical talent and track record are undeniable, and Scarlet is proof of that. Cutworms, aka Max Clark, dropped his self-titled third album. There's some good songwriting, bygone era melodies, and I've even seen the term cowboy pop used to describe this indie rock subgenre. At 24 is Tyler Childers with Rustin' in the Rain. Childers has been surging in recent years. He's one of the best alt-country singer-songwriters out, and has even made waves with some of his progressive political commentary, which is always refreshing coming from the country music realm. Killer Mike's Michael is number 23. This is his first solo, non-Run the Jewels album since 2012's Rap Music. Here, Michael gets personal and political. The beats and features are solid here, and Mike's rhymes are as impassioned as ever. 22 is Say She She with Silver. I was just made aware of this group this year, and this album surprised me. This is like a neo-disco and pop album, with a vibrant and breezy vibe. Just a pleasant and refreshing listen overall. 21 is Olivia Rodrigo's sophomore album, Guts. While this might not be as good as her Sour debut, although some think it's actually better, Rodrigo delivers big on her smart, nuanced pop songwriting and colorful choruses. Her sensibility is often cynical and cutting, and she's definitely one of the best singer-songwriters on the pop landscape. Cleo Sol, the fantastic, soulful UK vocalist and lead singer in the Salt Collective, dropped 2 solo albums within 2 weeks this year. The first of the 2, Heaven, is my pick at 20. Tizo Touchdown is a musical chameleon who can rap and sing and songwrite in all types of styles. Punk, alt-rock, emo rock, R&B, and his lyrics and concepts can be deep, hilarious, smart, observant. His fun debut, How Do You Sleep at Night, is number 19. Caroline Polachek had one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year, with Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. The former Chairlift singer really hones her indie, chamber pop, art pop chops here. And although I still think that 2019's Pang is her best solo album, this album at 18 was definitely a triumph. Kara Jackson was one of the most pleasant surprises for me this year. The former Junior National Poet Laureate released her debut, Why Does the Earth Give Us People to Love? The folky songwriting style here is very unusual in its honest and stark observations, and even in the dryness of her vocals. I've got it at 17. Feeble Little Horses, Girl with Fish is one of the coolest sounding shoegazy albums of the year. Very colorful earworms and melodies, playful guitar sounds. Yeah, I've got this at 16. Lil Yachty dropped one of the most unexpected albums of the year with Let's Start Here. The rapper made a stylistic turn for the psychedelic and dropped a non-rap, psych rock, and psych pop album and totally pulled it off, with moments reminiscent of Dark Side of the Moon era Pink Floyd. I thought that this was really good. I've got it at 15. Alt rapper Billy Woods makes his second appearance on this best albums list, this time with the solo album Maps, with producer Kenny Segal making the beats. Abstract as ever, this was a heady listen. Billy Woods has really carved out an interesting reputation and catalog in recent years, and Maps is one of his best. Corey Hansen, the frontman of the psych garage rock band Wand, dropped the delightfully guitar-heavy album Western. The melodic songwriting and immersive instrumentals make this one of the year's best for me. Some of these musical explosions are just the kind of thing I crave in certain genres. I've got this at 13. At 12, I've got Miley Cyrus's Endless Summer Vacation. This is a mature Miley who showcases her weather-beaten, raspy vocals over some really good pop songwriting and production. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. Can't believe I'm ranking a Miley album over Olivia Rodrigo, Doja Cat, Caroline Polachek, and Janelle Monáe. But hey, some of these songs are undeniable. And this was also a commercial smash. Yeah, Miley's at 12 this year. And at 11, Victoria Monet's Jaguar 2. This might be the best pop and R&B album this year. I found the album to be pretty unskippable and have ended up playing it all the way through several times. And as the album continues, it never really falls off. It's consistently good melodically, conceptually, and performance-wise throughout. So Victoria Monet's Jaguar 2 is at 11. And we're gonna take the next break here, but we will return with the top 10 albums of 2023. We're now entering the top 10 all the way to number 1. Let's finish strong. Jeffrey Martin dropped an album called Thank God We Left the Garden. And I'm not kidding when I say this is some of the best songwriting I've heard all year. These songs paint pictures, descriptive narratives, great storytelling. I wasn't really up on him before this album, which I believe is his 4th album. I just hope that this increases his exposure and reputation. I've got this album at number 10. At number 9, my favorite rock album of the year, Geese with 3D Country. From the album opener on, I found this to be very interesting and even inventive rock. Yes, it grabs from past eras, but listen to how they incorporate gospel-sounding background vocals on some of the hooks, or just the eccentricity in how the vocals are delivered. This is a wild and fun ride, and Geese even dropped an EP later in the year that solidifies for me that they're the most exciting new rock band. 3D Country is a fantastic breakthrough. At number 8, Uchis with Red Moon and Venus. Man, this is a smooth listen. Her production, her vocals, that Moonlight song towards the end of the album, I thought that this was even better than her 2018 debut, Isolation, which was really good. This Red Moon and Venus album has her going 3 for 3 in dropping high quality albums. Her 4th album, by the way, is dropping January 12th. Can't wait, she's been consistently awesome. Joana Sternberg with I've Got Me is my number 7. This was one of the most pleasant surprises of the year. The lyrics on this delightful folk album are so raw and so simple, which actually helps intensify the clever riddles, even as they're delivered somewhat playfully. Sternberg has this childlike sound that reminds me a little of Daniel Johnston, the late lo-fi alternative folk artist. I definitely want to catch a Joana Sternberg show whenever they come to town. Again, there's this simplicity in their clever wordplay that makes some of these lyrical lines hit even harder, and the melodic tunes sound great. It's a pretty short album and I've deeply enjoyed it, if you can't tell. Number 6 is Javelin by Sufjan Stevens. This is an album born out of personal tragedy and hardship. It's both beautiful and devastating, and Stevens gives us another hauntingly melodic album with great songwriting and colorful instrumentals and production. This is probably my favorite album of his since 2015's Carrie and Lowell. I really view Sufjan Stevens as one of the best indie-focused singer-songwriters of the past 20 years, and his catalog backs that up. I mean, just think about it. Now we've got Javelin, we had Illinois, right? Illinois, there's Carrie and Lowell, there's Greetings from Michigan, even his collab with Angelo De Agostine. Yeah, I could go on about Stevens, but I've got Javelin at number 6. Number 5 is Jon Batiste's World Music Radio. I swear, Jon Batiste's albums have no business being this damn good. I remember when he was seen mostly as a music savant and was later known for being Stephen Colbert's Late Show band leader, but I'd never really taken his music and his projects that seriously. I mean, there are a lot of music savants, even at a genius level, which I do consider Batiste to be, but they often do not develop great music catalogs. Well, his whole reputation changed in that regard when he surprisingly won the Album of the Year Grammy last year with We Are. When I first heard this World Music Radio follow-up, I played the entirety of this thing like 3-4 times in a row. So I'll be the first to say that I was late to the Jon Batiste music catalog party in terms of his actual solo career. But boy, am I glad I'm here. I'm thoroughly enjoying this album. And it's not like his music is a huge commercial success. He's still not an ultra popular artist or anything like that, even if these last couple albums lean more towards pop and are less jazzy or bluesy than some of his earlier stuff. But yeah, please give this World Music Radio album a listen. Bonnie Prince Billy's Keeping Secrets Will Destroy You is number 4. Now, this is a pretty prolific artist, and I've liked some of his stuff in the past, but something about the songwriting on this one really struck a chord. The album is very deep and existential, even somber. Then in the middle of the album, the music and its themes take you by the hand and lead you through this forest of fantastic stories. Some are dark, others are optimistic, but it's like you're given a front row seat to how this dude's mental inner workings are churning these ideas into this tapestry of poetic songs. This, for me, is definitely one of the most well-written and best executed singer-songwriter style albums of the year. I would not have expected a Bonnie Prince Billy album to rank this high on my list, but here we are. By the way, he's also an actor who plays a pretty crushing role in the 2017 movie A Ghost Story, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had a big hand in writing his own lines. At number 3, I've got Nas with King's Disease 3. Nas has had this career rejuvenation since working with Hit Boy, and has reached heights that I didn't think that even he could reach, although he'd already had a great catalog before these Hit Boy collabs. It's just crazy to think that once upon a time, Nas was seen as a great rapper who dropped an all-time classic with his '94 debut Illmatic, but would often underwhelm with some of his subsequent albums, almost as if the talent that Nas possessed would somehow result in albums that were less than the sum of his parts and wouldn't do his abilities justice. One of the most prevalent criticisms was on Nas's beat selections on his projects. I feel like we are now so past that narrative, and now that he's created these 6 projects over the past 3 years, the question is now whether this is the best late career catalog that we've ever seen from an older rapper. He's kind of redefined what's possible in that regard. And out of these 6 projects with Hit Boy, which are fun to rank because of how consistently high quality they've been, I actually think that King's Disease 3 might be the best out of all of them. And I remember ranking King's Disease 1 and 2 pretty high on my list in their respective years. But 2023, with both hip hop and Nas turning 50 years old, this year has seen Nas take one of the coolest victory laps, where he's been receiving his flowers left and right. I loved all that. Nas and Hit Boy have proven to be a phenomenal tandem, and these projects were so good that it made me forget how underwhelming his Kanye-produced album Nasir from 2018 was. But yeah, I've got King's Disease 3 at number 3. My number 2 album of the year is Lana Del Rey's Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard. Unlike a lot of my other favorite albums, this one is in fact getting all the credit it deserves. I've seen it near the top of a lot of best albums lists. Now, this is a pretty long album, which often impacts my enjoyment of an album negatively. I don't like albums to just drag on for the sake of dragging on for much longer than an hour, especially if the songs contain a similar sonic palette instrumentally. But Lana and super producer Jack Antonoff really shine throughout this thing, delivering her trademark cinematic sounding dream pop, but with an Americana twist like Baroque pop noir, a lot of personal and dark themes. And yeah, Jack Antonoff, the 2-time Producer of the Year Grammy winner, laces Lana's best album since Norman effing Rockwell, which was also produced by Antonoff. I've got this album at number 2. And the number 1 album of the year for me is, drumroll please, Everything Harmony by the Lemon Twigs. I've been listening to this band of 2 brothers since their 2016 release. They have since gone from psych rock to glam rock and now to 70s singer-songwriter soft rock, with some wonderful timeless sounding melodies and songs that tweak that 70s style to make something special. Just listen to that opener, When Winter Comes Around. And I'll be honest, I've always only kinda liked this band and their albums. I don't think I've liked any of their past albums to the point where it would make my top 50 albums of the year list. But this album absolutely caught me off guard. And this is my favorite album, my number 1 album of 2023. And yeah, that feels like a bit of a shocker, but thank you for tuning in and thank you for your support of this channel in 2023. Here's to a fantastic 2024. Keep your eye out for more and more content, long vids, short vids, multi-genre, and let me know what some of your favorite albums of this year have been. And I want to wish everybody a happy new year. Here's to a prosperous and fruitful 2024 as we wrap up 2023. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.